What's up, everybody? Brothers, sisters, psychonauts, and seekers of truth. It is Anonka, and welcome to my bazaar. Today, I have a Ritalin chirp report for you. The title of this chirp report is Who Knew It Could Be So Powerful? And was submitted to Erowid in 2006 by the user Cassius. With all that being said, let our story begin. Background. I have taken Ritalin orally for what must be about 10 years. I am 16 now. It was supposed to be the miracle drug that would keep me on a fast track to a successful scholastic career. But it took me until only a few weeks ago that it wasn't really helping at all. I'm actually doing better, or at least I feel better, without swallowing 40 milligrams every morning. It would make me feel groggy and depressed all day, and leave me with no appetite. So I informed my parents that I was going to try not taking it for a while, just to see what happens. I immediately felt better. Like all the stress in my life had been lifted off of my back. I knew that Ritalin was not the drug for me. I had always heard that Ritalin was a popular drug, but I never really knew why. I had heard that people liked to snort it, but I always assumed it gave them the same feeling it gave me when I swallowed it. Well, after researching more about drugs, I've smoked cannabis on a regular basis for a year or two. I've drunk alcohol probably once or twice a month for about 2 years. I have also tried codeine, 300 milligrams on one occasion, and Valium, 90 milligrams on another occasion. I decided to try snorting some Ritalin. I have a bottle with 30 20 milligram pills left, after using 16 of them tonight. So I started with 46 of the original 60 that were prescribed. Mindset. I was in a pretty good mood. Nothing really bothering me. I was excited about an upcoming vacation, starting with a half day of school tomorrow. I wasn't really concerned about my mindset before the experience, and the decision to take the Ritalin was spontaneous. Once I decided to do it, about 15 minutes passed while I let the anticipation grow, and waited for my mom to go to her room for the night. Setting. It was at around 8:15 p.m. on a Tuesday, school night. I was alone in my house, except for my mom who was in bed, reading but not asleep. I didn't let this worry me though, because she rarely comes downstairs to the dining room, where this computer is. I would have done it in my room, where it's more comfortable. But as I said before, I didn't give much thought to how I felt at the time, or the setting in which it was to take place. I didn't give much thought to the time, which was a little late, considering I need to be up at 6:30 a.m. for school tomorrow. And I knew I wasn't going to feel tired for at least 6 hours. Preparation. I had relaxing music playing at a low volume, just for background effect. I crushed one pill under a little salsa bowl. I decided to start with only one line, because I didn't know if I would be able to handle the burn. I had wimped out the night before, and didn't want to use more Ritalin than I could tolerate. Experience. +0. I snorted the first line right off of the computer desk. It wasn't a huge line, but I was surprised at how much I can get out of one 20 milligram pill. Seeing how I could tolerate the burn and terrible taste of the drip, the more I did, the less these bothered me. In fact, I have almost grown to like the burn and the drip sensation that you get from snorting. I decided to do another line in the other nostril. The burn was especially bad since I had done it through both nostrils, one right after another. I immediately felt my nasal passage clear up. I have a slight head cold, which made the rest of the lines easier. 30 minutes in, I could definitely feel it by this point. I was filled with energy. I really wanted to interact with other people, which is the main reason I stayed at my computer, to chat with people on AIM Instant Messenger. At about this time, my heart was beating noticeably faster, and I felt slight euphoria. 50 minutes in, a friend called me on my cell phone, and we talked for a while about our plans for tomorrow, which of course involved smoking weed, and in my case, doing more Ritalin as well. This is part of the reason I didn't do more tonight. I'd say the conversation lasted about 15 minutes, and all the while I had to control the volume and speed of my talking, which was surprisingly hard to do, and resulted in a low mumbling that sounded really weird, as not to upset my mom upstairs. An hour and 20 minutes. I bumped another 2 lines, and I began to feel even better and more energetic. I felt as if I was on top of the world. I had difficulty multitasking. For the most part, my mind would stay focused on one thing and one thing only. So it was hard to balance typing with talking. I would pause on the phone for sometimes up to a minute while I typed, even though I was still in the middle of a sentence. An hour and 50 minutes in, we got off the phone and I continued chatting on AIM. I was pretty wired by now. My ego was definitely inflated. I felt like I could do anything. I honestly felt that I was seeing life through a new pair of eyes. I was a new, more confident, and more cocky than I was before I took the first few lines. I'm quite an egotistical person without Ritalin. By this point, I had 14 conversations on AIM simultaneously. I seemed to instant message everyone online at the time, simply trying to strike up a chat with anyone who was willing. During this time, I would make blunt, bold statements. I was definitely more honest about things with people. 2.5 hours in, and it was at this time I did another 2 lines. The cravings for more was fierce, and I gave into it. I was really, really amped up. I imagine this must be what methamphetamine is like in smaller doses, which is part of the reason I took so much. To get a pretty hardcore, speedy feel with a less powerful drug. The need to interact with other people intensified as I got on the phone with another friend who decided to smoke some pot first to make the conversation interesting. Well, like the last friend I was on the phone with, we discussed our plans for tomorrow. Both friends are involved, and just talked about random stuff. 2 hours and 15 minutes in. I took in 2 more lines while still on the phone with my friend, and we kept talking for another 5 or so minutes before his girlfriend called. I then continued my conversations on AIM with just as many people as before. I had the urge to go out and do something, but I couldn't because it was late at night, around 10:15-ish. At 2 hours and 45 minutes in, I did 4 lines this time instead of 2, which really helped the high. I had been coming down a little bit earlier. Also, I must have been talking more than I thought I was. Either that, or the drip did something to my voice, because my voice was, and still is, raspy and lower. You could even say it's harder to talk. 3 hours and 15 minutes in, I snorted another 2. It seems that I was quite addicted to it by this point, and even as I write this, I want more. The high continued, although it was slightly less powerful than it had been earlier. I continued chatting online. 3 hours and 45 minutes in, I start writing this experience report. The high was really dying down now, so I decide that in a few minutes, I'll take the last 2 lines. 4 hours. I did the last 2 lines of the night to make it 16 total. This gives me a feeling of slight euphoria, similar to the first 2. Maybe a little bit more powerful. I also grow restless and walk around the house a bit. The urge for more is present. 5 hours in, I put away the Ritalin for the night and try to sit and relax. I have the feeling that I want to sleep, but I know I won't be able to for a while still. 6 hours and 45 minutes in, I'm still jittery and awake, and still writing this report. The total time it took me, approximately 3 hours. God, I feel worn out, but still not tired. I think my body just hurts from sitting here so long. I still want to do more, but not nearly as much as before. I'm getting lazier about writing this report than I was before, due to exhaustion. Note, overview, and observations. Let me start by saying that I didn't know how much I was going to do in one night. All I can say is I hadn't planned on doing 16 lines, 20 milligrams, 1 pill per line. But I found that Ritalin is quite addictive when it's snorted. I kept trying to maintain the high and push it further and further by doing more and more until I finally decided to stop at 320 milligrams, or 16 lines, 16 pills. Also, as I write this, I'm still pretty high. I feel a mild euphoria and my hands are shaking, like when I have too much caffeine in my system. I assume this happens with most stimulants. I'm writing this about 6 hours after I started taking the Ritalin, and it seems like I might still be high for another hour or so. The urge to do more is strong, since I still have 30 pills left, but I'll resist the temptation so I can get at least a few hours of sleep. Once again, I was surprised to find Ritalin to be so addictive. Also, I'm not sure of the exact times in the experience log, because, like I said, I hadn't planned on doing the Ritalin, and the idea of writing this report came about 1 hour after doing the last line. Another thing, I am having trouble writing this report because I want it to be perfect. Although I can tell it's full of grammatical errors and a lot of repetition, but that's just the way it is. I don't really know where to put this note, overview, observation section, so I decided to put it at the end of the report. I also find myself going back to correct things by changing their tense or placement in the report. It also seems like this is taking a lot longer, and the report itself is a lot longer than it should be. These effects I attribute to the Ritalin. I also noticed that I use parentheses way too much, but I can't seem to find a way around them. As a final note, yeah, right. During one of my corrections, I deleted a large chunk of the background section by accident. I don't remember what was there, though. Conclusion? Do I really even need a conclusion? I seem to be stuck in a thought cycle. I just want to comment on how my writing skills are lacking when it comes to this experience report. But that's something I have said in the above paragraph. There I go again. I'm pretty tired. But like I said several times before, I don't think I can fall asleep. All in all, Ritalin is a good recreational drug, although I think I took too much. But now I see what all the fuss is about with Ritalin. I guess, like I said before, again, I took a lot more than I should have. Ritalin is a powerful drug, a lot more powerful than what I would have expected. It's 3:15 a.m. now, and I have to be up in 3 hours. Who knew it could be so powerful? P.S. I tried to make this report a free-flowing observation of the effects of Ritalin, but it turned into more of a report about a report. I'll leave it with that. Good night. Alright, everyone. That is the end of our story. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Share with us your Ritalin experiences down in the comments below. Check out the other videos and playlists on my channel, and I will see you in the next one, fam. Deuces.